This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeff Malinoff, and with me once again is Mark Souza. We have a lot to talk about today. We have arguably one of the best Monday Night Football games ever between the Rams and Chiefs to look over. Also, we have some Wizards drama to go on, as well as a roundup of the NBA itself. And some a funny incidents in the world of curling in our final segment, but we'll get on that later. But we're going to first talk about, of course, Monday Night Football may be the best one of all time. That's what people are saying on social media and stuff, which I'm not a big guy on like greatest of all time anythings, but this one I'm going to have to agree with. 54-51. We were both wrong about our scores. We said this was game of the year. Oh my goodness, it lived up to the hype.
There was a game last night? Sorry, I was asleep. There was football?
You fool!
No, I definitely wasn't. That game definitely lived up to the hype. It's funny, too, because when we talked about it yesterday, and we gave our predictions, I thought 44-40 I thought I was being a little bit aggressive. And I wasn't being aggressive enough. Yeah, by far. There was another, 20 points?
105 points total for both teams in one game.
Absolutely insane. Just incredible.
What was last Monday night game? Like 27 something or something of that matter for the Niners and Giants, and then we get this game. 27-23,
yeah.
And then that was that was a pretty good game, all intents and purposes, for two bad teams, and then we get the two best teams in the NFL, arguably, and they put on one heck of a show.
Despite all that, there's 3 defensive scores in this game, too, so it wasn't even like there was no defense.
Yeah, we were talking about that, too, about how this was an offensive matchup, but, man, the defense really showed, well, not really showed up because how many points were scored, but they held up, they did some clutch things of their own.
Oh, yeah. There was big plays being made by the defenses, even though, obviously, in a 54-51 game, we're going to be talking about the offenses because, of course, there was a lot of offense. Mahomes and Goff, they went crazy last night. Oddly enough, Kareem Hunt and Todd Gurley were very subdued in a game where they usually lead their team in yardage or in points and things like that. 1 touchdown for Hunt, none for Gurley, which is incredible. How does a person who has so many of their touchdowns scored this year not score in their highest scoring game of the year? It's a weird thing, but last night was weird overall.
Mahomes had 6 touchdown passes, 478 yards. They together, Goff and Mahomes throwing the ball, had 891 total yards.
Yeah,
But the thing is that really puts a dent in this game is Mahomes threw 3 picks.
He threw three picks. He had 2 fumbles on sacks from behind.
Is that a cause for concern?
No, not at all. He was great last night. I know that he turned the ball over, but
it kind of costly matters too. But
yeah,
Tyreek Hill had a game of his life too.
Yeah, well. Mahomes also. His last pick too. You kind of just throw that one away. They're in desperation mode.
I know, but still, those 2 picks before that last pick was also very costly.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of.
And he started off the game a little bit slow too, but I'll tell you what. When you have that guy, you always have a chance. Because they scored 51 points, right? We could talk about the turnovers, but. Wow, both of these quarterbacks. Jared Goff's last touchdown pass. I thought they scored too early. To be honest with you, when he threw that touchdown pass, I actually was thinking, "Oh no, that's not what you want. You kind of wanted a first down right there, move the ball down the field, waste the time, and then punch it in. But did you think the same thing when the Chiefs got the ball back? Were you thinking that they were going to win?
When it was 51-47 after their touchdown in 2 minutes, I was a little skeptical.
Well, I mean, after the Rams scored. So when the Rams...
you mean with 1 minute and 56 seconds left?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Did you think that the Chiefs were going to score?
I
know they had a punt, and then they got the ball back.
There was no 2-minute warning, so I think that was also an issue. And, there was something had to give, But I didn't think the Chiefs were out of it, and I didn't think the Rams scored too early. I think it was just like, you got to play defense here. You couldn't risk not scoring, You couldn't stop at the 1 or something like that.
Yeah.
So you got to take the points when you get it. And they trust their defense, and they came in clutch.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I don't even know. Where do you start with this game? I mean, we just talked about a lot of things. But
how many strip sacks there were?
Aaron Donald. I mean, it's kind of crazy that in a game that's 54-51.
He had 2 strip sacks in, the first half?
Yeah, and it's crazy because in a game that's 54-51, we're here talking about an incredible defensive play or performance last night, and Aaron Donald had that. 14.5 sacks on the year for Aaron Donald. He's missed the first 4 games this year. That's, 6 games? 7 games. He's played 7 games, and he has 14.5 sacks, and he's an interior defensive lineman. So that's
at least 2 sacks a game, roughly?
He's also been double-teamed on 76% of the snaps that he's been in the game. So 76% of the time, 3/4 of his snaps, he's double-teamed, and he's still finding a way to average 2 sacks a game.
That's unreal.
Yeah, and we all know, for pass rushers, it's easier to rush the passer from the edge because it's harder to double-team players there. For Aaron Donald, he's in the middle.
Tackle.
He's in the middle of the action. They could triple team him if they wanted to. You can put 2 linemen on him and chip him with a running back if defenses really want to. And he still finds a way. I mean, we saw last night. He uses his bull rush effectively, but even still, he can get around on the outside. He's an incredible defensive player.
Yeah, him and Khalil Mack are definitely surefire. They're the finalists for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I agree. They're head and shoulders above everybody.
If they were both in how do you say this? If they were both in AFC and NFC differently, they both take it, no question.
Right. So,
but now we have a serious question on our hands because they're both in the same conference.
Mm-hmm.
Brings a problem.
Both obviously have been big-time players for their teams, too. I mean, it's no secret that there's other players on their team that are good, but both teams have winning records. When you can rush the passer and create problems like that, it gives you a chance to make big plays. Even if your defense isn't great, like the Rams have showed they're not a great defense, they make plays because it starts with Aaron Donald. Even when he's not sacking the quarterback and causing fumbles, he's pressuring quarterbacks into poor decisions. So what a night for him in a game full of offense.
Yeah, this was a game full of offense is an understatement. That's how intense this game was.
Tyreek Hill might be the fastest human being on the planet.
And he's coming off a groin injury. Let's remember that. So he wasn't even he's not really 100%.
And I know that he scored his second touchdown where the defender fell down. I still thought it was incredible how far he was past that guy. When he caught the ball. I was like, are you kidding me?
Can you imagine how fast he is without pads? Add that to the mix. He's wearing pads. He's having stuff that's holding him down.
Right.
And he's still outrunning
he's not a big
everyone.
guy either, He's a small guy, so.
He's legitimately just outrunning everyone. It's not fair.
You know what, though? Last night, usually when we look at a football game, there's one winner, one loser, and then we think, when we look back at the game, we always talk about the winner, wow, that team's pretty good. And the team that lost, we're like, wow, that team's not as good as I thought. I actually left last night's game thinking both these teams are really, really good.
No.
And, well, you know what I mean, though?
I know.
You know what I mean? It's just in sports, right? One team wins, one team loses. When you lose, you're like, oh, man, we have problems, right? This team isn't good enough, blah, blah. You always think negatively, but I was left with, man, both these teams are going to be fun to watch in the playoffs because these offenses are just insane. They really are.
Like, there's no question about it how good these guys are and how good they all work. Both these teams have so much chemistry together, and that really shows a lot of how these coaches, both Coach McVay and Coach Reed, have done so well with both their teams.
And the aggressiveness,
yeah,
like they both go for it. They fourth and short, they go for it. They trust their players. They trust their play calling.
And one is at the beginning of his coaching career. One is at the end of his coaching career, and they're like almost identical in like their personalities. No, maybe not personalities, maybe not, but how they do play calling, like we said, and like just how they adapt to game time situations, and just their players are drawn to them. They have a drawing factor in their players, and they bring out the best in their players, and this totally shows it. And honestly, even though the Chiefs lost this game, they're still my favorite to win the AFC.
The Chiefs have lost 2 games this year, and I could argue that they were more impressive in their losses than their wins.
Oh, yeah. I can agree with that.
Which is insane to say because those are 2 losses. They lose to New England in New England. Great comeback attempt. They come up short, but they lose to Tom Brady on the road. Like, okay, that's you can understand that. And
everyone loses to Tom Brady on the road.
Everybody. And then you lose in a game where you score 51 points on the road. It's like, man, this Chiefs team
they scored more points than some teams don't score for like 2 or 3 weeks.
I mean, we saw the Raiders score 3 points and 6 points, and then last week they scored 23. So, yeah, there's like 4 or 5 weeks of Raiders offense right there that the Chiefs did in one night. So,
you can't understand how good this team really is compared to all the other teams in the NFL. Like when you're looking at this, like I've always said I'm expecting a downhill with the Andy Reid teams. Maybe not this year.
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet.
Just watch them. They're going to lose like 7 straight now, or like 6 straight now, and not make the playoffs.
Now,
obviously not, but
it's interesting too that both these teams are on a bye this week coming up. So
they need it.
Yeah, they need like the.
After that, it's like
they need the vacation after this game.
It's like yeah, absolutely. Like I need a break. I am exhausted. I just put everything I had into this game. So please excuse me while I just collapse out of exhaustion. I was exhausted watching that game.
Yeah, I think for these 2 teams, I mean Mahomes and Goff, we kind of figured that I think we'll see both of these guys play in these types of games for the next few years. There will be nights where Mahomes will probably throw for 500 yards and Goff too. They both will eventually. So,
but in the same game against each other, I don't think we expected that.
The only thing missing from this game, Jeff, was an overtime throw. Like if the Chiefs would have scored a field goal at the end and went to OT, oh man,
that would have been absurd.
And then the game ends in a 54
tie. Or a 57-57 tie.
But then the fans don't leave, and then they're like, no, we're going to continue to play.
I don't think we can get that far. I don't think we can just change the rules of the NFL as we're playing them. This isn't like a movie.
Hey, you know what? The NFL does what sells, and Goodell, I could see him making that executive phone call in the middle of the game, being like, hey, we can't end this thing on a tie, guys, so if we need another OT, you have my approval. We'll just go ahead and run with it.
Pretty sure there would be... like owners would have major issues with that.
If the ratings are going up, though, that's what matters.
I don't know.
Hey, we've seen the rules change over the years, giving offenses the advantage, right? As we saw last night.
Yeah, but defenses also played a huge part in this game. You can't take that away from them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
we didn't expect much fight from the defensive side. Let's be honest. Not to this caliber.
I feel like I only saw one punt last night.
You know what? I don't remember seeing a punt.
The last one, where Tyreek Hill returned it from his own end zone. Probably not the best decision by Tyreek Hill.
But I don't blame him for trying.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? If you were him, he was having the game. He was at 200 yards receiving. Why not take the chance after a punt?
The Chiefs punted 3 times last night. I didn't even remember one. And the Rams punted 4 times.
I don't think anyone remembered one.
Yeah. So, did this win for the Rams change your opinion of them? Do you think that they're behind the Saints or above the Saints right now in the NFC conversation?
Can I say they tied? I know that's a cop-out, but...
No, you got to go one way. You have to pick, and you have to tell me why.
Darn, why do you have to make this so hard?
It's not hard to pick one.
That's what she said. Keep me with the Saints.
Why?
They just continue to impress me, and they seem to be getting better and better and better as the game goes on, and as the season goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can see some flaws in the Rams and Saints and all that, but honestly, if you had to give me between Drew Brees and Jared Goff to lead a team to win, give me Drew Brees.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I'm still of the mindset that the Saints are the best team in the NFC, but man, the Rams are right there. It's close. It's really close. What about the AFC? Are the Chiefs still the best team in the AFC in your opinion?
Yes. This game almost proved that they are still.
Who else? Who's your next best team in the AFC? Would it be the Patriots? Would it be the Texans?
Now
the Steelers?
You're saying interesting things.
Texans, Steelers, and Patriots are probably the next 3 in whatever order.
I think I got to put the Patriots at 2 just because of just because of
history.
Yeah, and just how obviously good they still remain. And even with the young rookies, they're contributing also. You're adding that to the mix. There's not really anything that's slowing them down.
Yeah, I have them firmly behind the Chiefs. That last loss by the Patriots against Tennessee.
That did put a big if question mark on that team. But again, I'm still going with the Chiefs being the best team in the AFC. But the Rams and Chiefs, man, or not the Rams and Chiefs, the Rams and Saints, excuse me, are extremely close to the best team. It's like them, and then there's everybody else.
Yeah.
All due respect to the Panthers who are playing well. All due respect to
exactly, the NFC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good teams in the NFC, but the Saints and Rams are just on a completely different level, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have... What about the Bears?
I'll put them at 3 or 4.
Are they firmly behind?
Yes. Absolutely.
I'm interested in seeing that defense play, though, against...
That's the thing. Their defense is at another level, but their offense cannot compare with the Saints or the Rams.
Their offense has been getting better, though.
Yes, but they're still not at that level.
That's true.
There's not enough weapons on that Bears team to convince me they can put up as many points as the Rams or the Saints.
They're not at that level yet, but that team is ascending. So I wonder by the end of the season, when we head into the playoffs, if Trubisky and that offense, if they will be closer, at least where they are right now, to the Rams and the Saints.
I'm not saying they can't win. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying I feel like there is a gap between the offenses. And you could say the same thing with the defenses on the opposite spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
But anything else to say about this game?
Nope. I think that's it. We should take a break.
And when we get back, we will talk about the NBA roundups. A lot of games happen, a lot of exciting games, some upsets, some not. And we'll get right on them when we return.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We just finished talking about the great Monday Night Football game that took place last night. Now we're moving on to the National Basketball Association. Do you want to start off with a certain game in particular the last couple of days, or what do you want to start with?
Yeah, Milwaukee and the Nuggets played last night. Milwaukee hosting Denver. They get the win, 104-98. 26 points in the fourth quarter was enough to get past the Nuggets. So the Bucks will move to 12-4. And the Nuggets will move to 10-7. Antetokounmpo 29 points. Eric Bledsoe had 22.
23.
Again, just a really good game from the Bucks as they continue to show that maybe they're the best team in the East. It's kind of hard to tell at this point, but they're definitely in that conversation.
Do you ever watch the Game of Zones thing on Bleacher Report?
I do.
Do you remember the Kings of the East thing where LeBron's like, oh, we're doing this again, and he does it every year? Mm-hmm. Well, actually, we're going to have a new Kings of the East for the first time in almost a decade.
That's
so
true.
This is exciting. So the Bucks might be the new Kings of the East and play knife and table.
I think the Cavaliers have been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs this year.
The Cavs have? Already? Sure, why not?
I mean, what do they have, 2 wins? I mean,
And J.R. Smith is not happy. Have you heard him rip the Cavs for
he wants to be
tanking?
traded. He already said he publicly said, I want to be traded.
He's not going to a good team. I hate to break it to him.
No.
He thinks he's caliber. He's that caliber, but he's not. Hate to break it to
the most likely scenario is they waive him.
He's probably going to go back to like New York or something.
Yeah, most likely scenario is he gets waived and then he joins LeBron or something, you know.
Another game that happened last night was the Hornets beating the Celtics 117-112. And Kemba Walker with 43 points after his 51-point performance. So he has over 100 points in the last 2 games.
He's on fire, man. He could say that he's an early candidate for MVP.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's too early for MVP talk.
Right, but he's
absolutely.
in that conversation.
Early season MVP, give it to him. Sure. If that was an award. Kyrie had a pretty good game himself, 27 points, 11 assists. Jason Tatum had 18 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. But overall, you're looking at this game, and Kemba Walker just stole the show.
Yeah, and overall, I'm looking at this game and thinking Gordon Hayward's still ineffective. He's still not the same player. I'm not sure if he can get back to that.
He was off the bench and only 4 points in 31 minutes, so not
It's a
stellar.
lot of minutes to get 4 points.
And also, Russell Westbrook actually returned to the lineup for the Thunder last night in a losing effort to the Sacramento Kings. Once again, the Thunder lose to the Kings. And Russell Westbrook returned lineup again against Sacramento Kings, so that was twice he was returning to the lineup against the Kings in a losing effort. The Kings win this one 117-113. Mm-hmm. Westbrook still with a great game, 29 points and 13 rebounds, 7 assists, almost a triple-double for him. But the Kings win again. Shumpert, I said that right. 23 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 23 points, 3 rebounds for him. Buddy Hield had a 25-point game himself. De'Aaron Fox had a 13-assist game, and Cauley Stein had 14 rebounds. So everyone did their part.
Bagley had a huge fourth quarter.
He had a double-double.
Not only that, but he had 12 points and 8 rebounds in the final quarter, and he had 2 blocks. So
Yes.
he really showed up for that fourth.
I got to ask you this. Are the Kings the real deal?
Real deal. I mean,
Holyfield?
what does that mean when you ask me? Are they the real
Are
deal?
they a playoff contender?
They're not a playoff team. They won't make the playoffs in the West. But I mean, they're playing a lot better.
They're 9-8, which is better than most teams are right now.
Oh yeah, usually it takes until the end of December for the Kings to win 10 games in a season.
I think that's shocking everybody. That's my main question to you. Is like,
yeah, I mean they're the real deal is in terms of their competitive team that they can give teams problems every night. We don't see them get blown out.
You don't see this team as like, this is just a fluke.
No, I don't think they're a 40-win team, and in the West you're probably gonna have to win at least 45. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I think they'll
put
go
them in the East, and you have a top seed.
Oh, if you want to talk about that, I have an interesting outlook.
Sure.
Every single team in the Western Conference would make the playoffs in the East.
Every single
Even
team.
the Phoenix Suns. That's my stance, and I'm sticking to it.
So if they were in the East, they would. Okay,
If they played an Eastern Conference schedule and they didn't have to play Western Conference teams every 2 out of 3 games, yeah.
Okay, That's a very interesting standpoint.
I know that Phoenix, if anybody's listening back, there's no way the Suns would make it, and I see what they're saying.
I say nay.
But the Suns would have probably 4 or 5 more wins is the crazy part. And in the East, 8 or 9 wins right now gets you in pretty good standing, So
Yeah.
It's funny. The discrepancy between the two is even larger than I expected.
Mm-hmm. And also what happened yesterday is the Grizzlies win another one against the Mavericks, who kind of dominated the Warriors. So the Grizzlies are looking good also.
Grizzlies continue to play really good basketball.
Mm-hmm. And a team that's not playing good basketball, like you said, are the Cavaliers, who lost again to the Detroit Pistons. But I think a main game we got to look at is the 76ers over the Phoenix Suns, because Jimmy Butler had a pretty impressive game, 16 points, and he's starting to get his groove with the 76ers. But Embiid again, 33 points, 17 rebounds, another early candidate for MVP in my opinion.
Embiid really wanted to make a statement against DeAndre Ayton last night, and he did. Yep. He definitely won that matchup.
Ayton had a pretty decent game himself, though, all things considered. 17 points, but only 9 rebounds for the center. Is not stellar numbers, but still, he's still a rookie, so I say cut him some slack.
Embiid is a really good player. I mean, I know that most people know that already, but I don't think he's touched his ceiling yet. If he can stay healthy, I mean, last night his three-pointer wasn't falling for him, but when it is, and he can hit a couple of those a game, like 2, he's a really, really deadly type of player. I mean, that guy has great skills. It's easy to see why the Sixers put a lot of faith in him when they drafted him number 1 overall. So,
yeah. And if we're looking at the games tomorrow, just a brief look at it, there are some games that invoke my interest, such as the Lakers and Cavaliers, as LeBron is returning to Cleveland in that game. And
is that tomorrow?
I believe that is tomorrow. Or yes, it is tomorrow.
Gotcha.
And my question to you for that game is LeBron going to get an ovation, or is he going to get booed badly by this Cleveland fan base?
I'm sure there will be a few boos, but the majority will be cheering for the best player in Cleveland sports history.
Well, NBA history. Also,
in Cleveland sports.
You can say that, too.
But for sure, Cleveland sports history.
So all Cleveland sports.
I think so.
So
I'm willing to take...
so Otto Graham and... Okay.
I'm willing to take any arguments, but...
Jim Brown.
But I'm going to go with one of the top 2 or 3 basketball players of all time, and I think that's a good start. But no, Jim Brown is a great player. I mean, there are players. Cleveland, it's not like Cleveland has no history, but we are talking about somebody who's arguably the best player in a sport ever. So, it's like if I said Michael Jordan's the best Chicago sports player of all time, there might be some people that would say someone else, but they'd probably not win that argument.
He's better than most guys on the Bulls now, because at 4-13, they are looking pretty bad.
So what do you think? You think that they'll give LeBron an ovation?
Well, I think because he didn't leave on like a decision on national television, that
he didn't break up with them on national TV.
Yeah, it's not a public insult anymore.
People love watching people getting broken up with on TV. That's why like The Bachelor is so popular,
Yeah.
They love
I don't watch
to
that
see
show,
other people getting rejected.
I don't understand why people like that show, to be honest with you. It's like they just met. They just met, and now they're getting married. That's how I look at it. I'm like,
I'll tell you why.
Are we really going to get into this?
Well, I mean, from a female perspective, I can understand why. Like, my wife watches The Bachelor. She's a Bachelor fan, and a lot of her friends are too. But from a guy's perspective, it's the gambling. You can bet on this stuff, man.
You can bet on The Bachelor
There's
stuff?
fantasy leagues on ESPN.
That is the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life.
Fantasy Bachelor, my friend.
I've heard some fantasy leagues like Walking Dead fantasy leagues and stuff like that, which I kind of get because there's like statistics you can put in that. But
we're talking about reality TV. Walking Dead is a fictional show.
Yeah, but you don't know what's going to happen.
That's true.
You can do like fantasy for like WWE if you wanted to. That's logical also when you think about it. But I don't know. I will never watch The Bachelor. Haven't watched it.
So here's the thing, Jeff.
You're
speaking to a married man right now. Don't say you're never going to do anything, especially like watch something as trivial as The Bachelor, because you may.
I said I
fall
never
in love
have.
with
I
the
said
girl
I
of your-
didn't. I never said I never will. I said I never have.
Hold on, that's true. But you may fall in love with the girl of your dreams, and she's like, you know what, Jeff? All I ask from you is you give me 2 hours a week to watch Bachelor with me, and you'll say,
well, there will be a compromise, and we'll have to watch something I like.
yeah, the compromise is you get to watch 15 hours of sports every day, like me.
But if we have to do a podcast, that's kind of our duty is to watch those.
Well, I'm just saying that the give and take, you'll be giving.
How did we get here?
You'll be giving way less than what you're taking in this scenario, is what I'm saying.
Okay, whatever.
Anyways,
we're getting way off topic.
Did you
here.
talk about the Pelicans over the Spurs?
I
yesterday?
was trying to get there. I was
Okay.
just talking about LeBron, and then we got to the Bachelor Fantasy League, apparently.
Well, this
And
kind of made sense because
I'm sure your wife is lovely. I'm sure she likes The Bachelor. Hi, Mrs. Souza. But let's move on.
But it's LeBron James is kind of like The Bachelor because he chose the Heat, and then now he chose the
Moving
Lakers.
on, let's go to the Spurs game as they fall to the Pelicans in a very high-scoring game, 140 to 126.
Almost as much points as that Monday Night Football game.
Yeah. Anthony Davis had 29 points. Moore had 24 points. Julius Randle off the bench had a triple-double.
Triple dub off the bench?
Yes. 21 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists.
That's pretty good. 25 minutes. Wow, that's an incredible game.
Yes.
Maybe the Lakers are missing him.
Possibly. They could really use him, actually. LaMarcus Aldridge did not have a good game, though, in my opinion. Not to his caliber. 7 points, 10 rebounds.
He's also a impending free agent.
He's going to get a big contract from any team, in my opinion. He's still a high caliber athlete, high caliber player.
He's really good, yeah. He's got really good
This game
post-game.
didn't show it, but he still can play the game very well.
He's still averaging 17 and 11, though.
There is an interesting game that's happening tomorrow, though. I want to talk about one more time. Not
All right,
the
go ahead.
not the Cavs and Lakers, but another return as the Warriors and Thunder square off yet again.
Oh, yeah. Golden State's hosting, right?
Yes, but it's still like this is Durant versus Westbrook. This is the breakup. This is the Bachelor in NBA.
Westbrook has missed some time with an injury and also the birth of his twins over the last 6
He
games.
missed the birth of his twins?
No, he missed games recently because of his ankle
Oh.
and the birth of his
Is
twins.
he married? Or is it his baby mama?
I have no idea.
I'm gonna
idea.
I'm gonna look that up.
But anyways, he last night was very fiery.
Yes.
And we'll see. That should be a good game. The Warriors have been reeling lately. They've been really struggling. It's hard to tell what to expect from them.
He is married.
I don't know if Draymond's playing tomorrow. It doesn't look like it. Curry's definitely not.
Oh, they've been in college. Okay, so it's not a gold digger. Good for them.
Gosh.
I'm sorry. How many times have we seen that, though?
Curry and, Clay and Durant have been slumping lately. I think they get out of that shooting
themselves
funk.
have been slumping.
I think the Warriors will get out of that shooting funk and lay it on the Thunder tomorrow. But we'll see.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine them going 4 losses in a row, the Warriors.
If it does, the world might implode. Bandwagon fans will jump to another team in disgust.
What about all the true Warriors fans?
How
What
many
about
are
the We Believe Warriors with Baron Davis and Steven Jackson?
I think you and a very few amount of people know this, though.
That was a fun team. When they beat the Mavericks, 8 versus 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some classics, and Jason Richardson used to be their star player, and he wasn't even that good, let's be honest.
Yeah, Jay Rich. They had Monte Ellis back in the day.
God, no one remembers that except for real fans. And you're not even a Warriors fan.
Monte Ellis has one of the most interesting tattoos. If you want to Google
Why on
it,
earth would I look at the man? Okay.
if you want to Google it, he has like a tree on his chest, and he has I think his son or his kid's face tattooed in it. It looks like a floating head. It's not the best artwork. Anyways, do you want to discuss any other games before we go to break? How about the Clippers? Do we talk about the Clippers? They beat the Hawks 127-119. Clippers are 11-5, Jeff. 11-5.
What the? That is really odd, actually. He just has a face of his child on his chest. It's not like it's like a picture just slapped onto the tree.
Yeah, it's like superimposed.
is very imposed. And in the tattoo says family tree, but maybe put the kid into the tree, make it work. It just looks like he just slapped on a picture. Like, you just put on a cake. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it looks like.
Would you believe me if I told you that the Warriors were in 4th place in the West?
Yeah, because they lost 3 straight. And if you lose 3 straight in the West, you're going to be in trouble.
Tell me the 3 teams ahead of the Warriors in the West right now.
The 3 ahead of them?
Yes.
Okay, this could be... I'm not even going to look. I'm going to guess.
I think one's pretty obvious.
Well, the Blazers.
Yes, they're one.
Let's see. Who else has double-digit wins?
7 teams actually have double-digit wins in the West. 7.
Yeah, and I think the Golden State Warriors have 12 wins?
They're 12-6.
12-6?
They actually have more wins than everybody in the West, but they are in 4th because they have one more loss than the 3 teams ahead of them.
Okay, I'm thinking about the teams that have double-digit wins.
Come on.
I got the Blazers. The Clippers? No, wait, they have 11 wins. Yes?
They're 11-5. They have one less win than the Warriors, but they have one less loss.
Okay.
They're ahead on percentage points.
Okay, so we're going on percentage also.
There's one more team. There's a 3-way tie for first. Portland, Clippers, and this team.
Portland, Clippers, and this team. Oh, the Grizzlies.
Yes.
Wow.
16 games into the season, and the Portland Blazers, the Memphis Grizzlies.
Blazers?
Yeah, the Portland Trail Blazers,
Yeah.
the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Los Angeles Clippers are all ahead of the Golden State Warriors in the standings. Wow.
For now.
The Rockets, Spurs, and Jazz are on the outside looking in.
Yes. Well, anything else about the NBA?
We need to take a break. We come back. We got to talk about the Wizards in the Eastern Conference.
We got some things to talk about the Wizards for sure. So we'll get on that when we return.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We got some drama in the NBA to talk about the Washington Wizards and their 2-star players, John Wall and Bradley Beal. There are some hairs that are being twirled around over there, if you know what I mean.
What do you mean? I've never heard that saying
a lot
before.
of friction. Well, like twirling of the mustache, like the evil mustache.
Oh.
By the owner and the general manager and all that, saying they're open to trading, causing a little rift. John Wall cursing out a player, I believe,
coach,
or a coach.
Their head coach, Scott Brooks.
Yes, it was the head coach. I forgot it was. I didn't know if it was either a player or a coach. I didn't read all that.
He was fined.
He said the F word, F you, to the guy.
Probably said a few other things.
Yeah, but I think that was the main one because you really don't say that to your coach or even a player, regardless who it is. You don't say that on your team. You're the leader of the team. It's not going good down
there in D.C.
Yeah, and everyone is apparently eligible to be traded. But who's going to take up the contracts of Bradley Beal and John Wall, I do not know, because those are in the 40 millions.
John Wall's Supermax extension kicks in next summer.
If he
37.
Stays.
Well, I mean,
who's going to take up? I can see one
He's
team
getting paid all that money.
Yeah.
It just depends where it's coming from. So he's getting 37, 41, 44, and 47 million over the next 4 years. The thing is, though, Jeff, is that with the Supermax contract, it actually costs the team less. It costs the Wizards less than it would another team. They don't have to pay 100% against the salary cap with that contract, where another team would. if they trade for him. So what team is willing to take on a $40+ million player for the next 4 years who, yes, is a good player, but if he's not a top 10, top 15 player, who could really, I guess, I don't know, justify that? That's about half the salary cap. That's almost half the salary cap on one guy who might be on the downside of his career. I mean, we'll see, but John Wall, I don't think has gotten any better over the last few years, right?
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
You want to know something crazy?
What's up?
As bad as the Wizards have been, and they've been brutal, they're only 3 games out of the playoffs because they play in the East. Like, it's not like a slam dunk that they can't make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying.
I just find that interesting. Like, you know, the teams ahead of them, Orlando, Boston, Charlotte. Now, Boston I think will get better, but Orlando and Charlotte, fringe teams, in my opinion. I mean, they can be caught. So, what do you think about this for the Wizards? We just saw Adrian Wojnarowski reported that the Wizards players a lot of them don't really even like each other.
That is the biggest problem of them all. If you don't get along with the team, the players you're playing with, you're not going to win games. You're not going to win championships. You need that chemistry. And when you don't have this chemistry, you're not going to do anything. And this team's going nowhere if
they're
they
stuck
can't
in
go
a
along.
real hard spot.
They're in probably the worst situation in the NBA.
I agree, because they're in that purgatory, right? Mm-hmm. They're like not in NBA hell, but they're definitely not in NBA heaven. They're just floating around in purgatory.
That's what I was about to say. They're in NBA purgatory, no question about that. And just looking at this team, like, no one thought of this team anyways as a championship contender, but with all of this, all the issues, all the things that are going on at the moment, this team may be in the gutters by year's end.
They tried getting star players like Kawhi Leonard. You know, they've been trying to stir up interest, guys like Oubre, Otto Porter, and those players, but they weren't able to get a player back like a Kawhi Leonard type, like a DeMar DeRozan or someone like that. So, with that being said, who is willing to take on John Wall's contract? I mean, I can't think of a single team. Obviously, playoff teams, most of them can't afford that type of player. If you're a rebuilding team, do you really want to rebuild with a point guard who's in his late 20s and not rebuild with, rookie picks and young players?
That contract is so
it hasn't even started yet. Like, that's the crappy part.
It is one of the most absurd contracts you can ever have, like I've ever seen personally. And
I mean, it's kind of the one where they had to sign him to that, though, right? I mean,
yeah, but there is a point where you gotta have a line you don't cross, and you're kind of having him walk all over you, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's been just a frustrating season. So I don't know. I know that John Wall has maybe not the easiest player to deal with a lot of times, but at the same time, he's a competitive player. He shows up, but he's 28 years old, and you got to pay him 4 years, basically at $40+ million per year through that time. Do you think that the Wizards will actually have to give up draft picks to trade John Wall? Like, they'll actually have to attach like a first pick, be like, hey, you got to take.
No, I think maybe a second rounder, not a first, maybe a second.
They have to convince a team to pay this man $40+ million for the next 4 years. I think any team that takes on that contract has to be incentivized another way, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, asking for all that money with a first round pick might be compelling to people, but I don't know. I don't see many teams taking up that offer unless they're like bad in the front office.
Well, like, they could possibly trade Wall. I mean, look, they're gonna try and trade Wall. I don't think teams are calling them for John Wall. They're going to have to make the call. If they convince a team to take John Wall, it's probably going to be, hey, we're going to give you a first-round pick if you take this contract off of our hands, because this is really going to hinder us for the next 4 years. We'll give you a first-round pick, but we'll do like a top 3 or top 5 protection on it. So then the Wizards, if they get one of the top 5 players in the draft this year, then they'll still get the pick and then shift that first round pick to the trading team for a future season like next year. I just can't. I'm not sure someone could convince me that they're going to be able to get rid of that contract without giving up something else.
Yeah, the thing is with this contract is there's so much money, and then you cannot get any other really big time players to help him out. So you're putting yourself almost in a huge hole. So you basically need this if you trade for him, you need this guy to basically carry you to a championship if you're willing to, if this is what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I don't think that's what you're gonna get. I'm sorry, that's not where you get.
Unless there's more incentives. So yeah, it's hard to tell. Beal, I think, is the more tradable player just because he's younger and his contract.
He's got some attitude issues though.
$27 million a year, that's a lot, but hey, it's not in the 40s. So yeah, I don't know. The Wizards have kind of gotten themselves in a situation here. Did you like it when they changed their name to the Wizards? By the way, I liked the Bullets. I know they changed it because the whole PC thing. They didn't want
and
to be associated with
today's
guns.
time. It probably wouldn't be as looked at very fondly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just all the shootings that have happened in the recent years.
Yeah, they got ahead of that one before people started clamoring for them to change their name.
I think it was the right move to change it. Maybe not to the Wizards, maybe something else, sure, but it's probably it was probably
Wizards,
the best.
Though, the Wizards, really? Anyways.
Well, I mean, come on, they had to change it. They thought of something, they had to go with it. Come on. Can't blame them.
Yeah. Maybe something to do with politics. They could have made a funny reference or something, but yeah, they went with Wizards. Anyways, I don't know how this season is going to end for them. Like we just said, they're 3 games out of the playoffs, but it looks like they're heading in the wrong direction. So what team will bail out the Wizards and take John Wall from them? We will see. Anyways, Jeff, anything else you'd like to talk about on this subject?
No, I think we kind of went over the big issues with this, and we kind of have officially said this team is almost dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that goes.
All right.
But we'll take a short break. We'll get on other news and quirks in the world of sports. A very funny instance, the curling we'll get into as well when we return.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast, our final segment of the day. We're going to start off with some goofy sports news. Do you like curling, Mark?
Hell yeah.
Really?
Yeah, man. I mean, who doesn't like to watch it on the Olympics? The Winter Games,
The
man.
one time I watched it was when Will Ferrell was Ron Burgundy and did commentary. That was hilarious, actually. But anyways.
I like curling because curling is a sport that you turn on the Winter Games and you're like, I can do that. It's like the one thing where you're like, you know what? If I tried hard enough, I could be a curler in the Olympics. You know what I mean? Like, what other sport could you turn on and be like, I could do that? Like, I couldn't do figure skating. I couldn't do...
No, you couldn't.
No, I said I couldn't.
Oh.
I couldn't do, I don't know, the skiing. I can never go down that fast on a hill. I would literally cry. I don't care. You can say
curling
whatever you
seems like
want.
a sport you don't need to train for. But
It just seems like it's like shuffleboard, right? Like
regardless, we'll talk about this. This is according to USA Today. The 2014 gold medal winner, Ryan Fry, team captain, Jamie Coe, and team members DJ Kidby and Chris Shelley, I apologize if I butchered any of those names, were all ejected from the Red Deer Curling Classic because
Is
they were...
this a tournament?
Yeah. It was a tournament. Because they were swearing and generally exhibiting unacceptable behavior that nobody wants to watch or hear or listen to, a.k.a. extremely drunk. There was some damage to the locker room and other teams complaining about their stuff being kicked around in the locker room.
So were they drunk while they were curling, or were they drunk after the match, or before, or both, or all three?
It might have been all three, it sounds like.
So before, during, and after, they were just tanked this whole time?
I think, or maybe before their last game. I'm not sure.
I thought that you had to drink to do curling. Like, that was a requirement. Like, it was like, take a shot, and then you roll this stone down. It's called a stone, right?
Your guess is as good as mine, my friend, but probably.
You push...
No, actually, I think it is called the stone.
Push the stone, I guess, because it doesn't roll.
Then you sweep with the brooms, I think they're called.
Mm-hmm. They're definitely brooms. I don't know if they call them that.
They're not really brooms. They're kind of like... they're kind of like what's the name of it? Zambonis, like little mini Zambonis. That's what
I just
like
when they start sweeping really fast. Like they'll be running alongside of it, and then they're like they take a peek and they're like, oh, I need to curve it. Okay.
Do you think they practice at home, like cleaning the house? They just scrub really fast around the house.
I don't know, man, but I'll tell you what. When it comes to house chores, I usually do all the sweeping and the mopping in our house. And I think I could be pretty good at curling. I mean,
sure.
I'm pretty good at shuffleboard. Isn't that curling?
How old are you?
33.
You're like, that's a 60-year-old thing. That's like a retirement home game.
Shuffleboard?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Have you ever heard of I'm going to retire and go to the Bahamas and play shuffleboard?
Go to bars and have a beer and play shuffleboard. Come on.
It's usually more known for old people.
Nah, come on, man.
Are you serious? Come on.
All right, so what do you like to do?
Play video games and watch football.
All right, so what about when you go out and do interactive things with the real world, like with people?
You know those like when I go out to bars and stuff, the big Jenga pieces I like to play.
Okay, there
that's
you go.
Fun.
Jenga,
that's not old.
But that's a child's game.
Yeah, but it's in large pieces, and you're not drunk, but because that's bad. And looking at that, like that, it's a large piece of the Jenga. That's risky because it could fall in your. Have you seen the video of the kid having
played Jenga last weekend?
The big large pieces. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about, though,
yeah.
Right? Okay. There's also Anyways.
So these guys, they got in trouble, right? One
they were
guy
kicked out of the tournament
okay.
for being extremely drunk and forfeiting the remaining game.
What else do you do in Canada? I mean, come on.
I don't know.
All right. So you want to anything else you want to add about that story, or can I jump into this baseball trade?
Sure, you can jump into the baseball trade. I just thought it was a little humorous to have.
That's a really good story.
I think you're so drunk, you're kicked out of a curling tournament.
No, I love that. I love that story. I just thought it was mandatory for you to drink to curl. I just thought, like, okay, before this tournament starts, everybody must drink. Anyways, the Yankees had a blockbuster trade yesterday. They land James Paxton, all-star pitcher from the Seattle Mariners. In return, they send their top left-handed pitcher, Justice Sheffield, and two other minor league prospects in return. Some people think that Justice Sheffield is going to be a stud, like a Clayton Kershaw type stud. But some people are kind of split on him too, where they think he's not accurate enough, he doesn't throw enough strikes, he's too wild. He's still a very young player, but he was for sure the prized possession in the Yankees minor league farm system. The Yankees get 30-year-old James Paxton. I just mentioned an all-star pitcher. What do you think about this trade, Jeff?
I never like the fact that people risk their top prospects for a player right now because you're kind of risking your future.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see how this goes as the next season happens, and we'll just go from there. I just think I wouldn't risk so many prospects, is what I'm saying.
Well, the Yankees kind of have a win now roster. Would you agree with that? They just made the playoffs.
I absolutely would, but I just know it's always a risk factor when you take away your top prospect. You said they're top prospects?
Yeah, I mean, you know how it is. Like, different people will rate these players differently. Maybe different organizations / websites will have their own rankings on them. But Justice Sheffield has been a name. He's been a name that teams have looked to acquire from the Yankees when talking about giving away one of their best players. So for the Mariners, they do get a young pitcher. If they can mold him and he can reach his potential, I mean, it's a steal. But if he becomes, a number 2 or number 3 type starter, maybe it doesn't work out for them. But hey, Paxton is only owed $4 million this season. He has a pretty nice contract in terms of flexibility for the Yankees. So the Yankees could still go out and acquire more pitching. It didn't really cost them a lot of dollars, at least this year, because, like I said, $4 million you're getting an all-star pitcher. It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, true. I'm still skeptical. We'll see how the season goes on, but you never know. This prospect they gave up might be the greatest player ever lived. You never know.
I mean, yeah.
I know that's so over the top, but you get what I'm meaning.
The other options, though, are because we can agree the Yankees need starting pitching right now, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was their big weakness this year, starting pitching?
Yeah.
Okay. So I agree with you. Like, I hate giving away top prospects, but the Yankees, they still need another pitcher, probably at least one more, because they have Severino, Tanaka, Sabathia is coming back, oddly enough, and now they add Paxton. They still need a frontline starter, probably a 1 or a 2, in my opinion. But when you go to free agency, then it gets really expensive. So. Mm-hmm. Anyways, Adrian Beltre retired. You were talking about that?
Yeah, it's really sad for the world of baseball.
I feel like that guy's played 174 years of baseball.
Well, he's one of the funniest guys on the field as well, and he was just a nice guy overall. Just seemed like a guy you would hang out with, and it just seemed. And he was part of the 3,000 hit club. Never won a World Series, unfortunately for him, but I still think he's a Hall of Famer.
He got close, right?
Yeah,
2012.
2011 with the Rangers. Yeah, that was the closest he got.
Well, when did they lose to the Giants?
That was 2010. 2011 was against the Cardinals, where they were literally one strike away twice to win. They were in Game 6. But I don't want to bring that up to Texans Rangers fans because that was probably the most heartbreaking moment in Texans history. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was bad.
What a career, though. 21 years.
That's almost as old as I am. He's been in the league for almost as long as I've been alive.
Well, I was just going to say that I don't remember a time where Adrian Beltre didn't play baseball, and that takes me back to 12. So, yeah, that's about right. That's crazy. What a player, though. Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Cool. What about J.R. Smith? Hall of Famer?
Why bring him up?
He had some interesting comments. He was saying that tanking has been the Cavs' plan all year. He's obviously not happy.
Good, you finally got with the program. So does everyone else think that?
He's obviously not happy with his role. He's not happy with the team. He said, I don't think the goal is to win. The goal isn't to go out there and try to get as many wins as you can. I think the goal is to develop and lose to get lottery picks. I think that was always the plan. So he's publicly said he wanted a trade. Is anybody going to trade for this guy? I mean, he's making $14.7 million this year. What team in their right mind is adding J.R. Smith for $14 million?
A team in Spain.
Really? I don't even think a team in Spain would want to.
I'm no team in the NBA that's unless you're like the New York Knicks. That's the only team I can think will be crazy enough to do that because They're not smart. Oh, maybe Cleveland. Oh, Cleveland. He's on Cleveland. I was like, Cleveland's the only team crazy enough to take up that contract.
He says he doesn't want to get bought out. He wants to be traded. He said he doesn't like the idea of being bought out.
He knows being bought out means he's not going to be able to go to another team.
But if you were the Cavs, why would you keep him on your roster at this point? I mean, if you're not playing him and you're trying to develop younger players, and he's an attitude problem, what's the point?
They're bad at front office work. I don't know.
Yeah, like, what's the point, right? Like, he's a disgruntled employee who's on his way out. He's 33 years old. He's not getting better. He's costing you $14 million, and not only that, but his attitude is just stinking up the joint.
This team is also, like, I think they're going for the Zion Williams sweepstakes.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely trying to lose. Nothing he said was wrong. Nothing he said was wrong.
But there is a line, like, you don't want to be on this losing team, but next year there might be a good team with Zion. Who knows?
And they're still even.
We don't know. We don't know yet.
Even with Zion, I mean, that Cavs team.
Oh no, it's terrible. Don't get me wrong.
They got Kevin Love and they got Colin Sexton.
They were bad when they drafted LeBron, and look how good they became. So
yeah, getting rid of Kyrie was the beginning of the end for them.
That's what LeBron said.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was. Anyways, are we done? I think we're done.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Join us tomorrow.
Yes, we'll talk more about sports.
We'll talk about that Thursday football, Turkey Day football. You know, Thanksgiving is the best day to watch football. I mean, let's be honest.
Best day to just stuff your faces with delicious food and watch football. Life doesn't get better than that.
Do you remember when people were like mildly upset that they added a third football game on Thursday? Like when it first happened?
People were upset?
Yeah, they were like another football, like, because it was like the morning, the afternoon, and then they added the 5 o'clock game.
That's wrong because...
You know, people like tradition. You know, like, don't change.
Add another football game. That's great. Oh, whatever. Anyways.
Christmas songs are coming.
I don't like people who are looking forward to Christmas before Thanksgiving. It's like, look at Thanksgiving because that's the best meal of the year, and then look for Christmas. But Black Friday also scares me. But we'll get in. Well, we'll get into that.
All right, we'll talk about that.
Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.